Hey guys, Scott here again with new beer dissection video. I'm gonna get cut right to the chase. What I have today is not gonna be unfamiliar to you. It's pretty mass produced. Was bought out by Big Beer several years ago, but Kona's Big Wave Golden Ale. Okay, I've had this beer like many of you guys probably have had it in the past. Many times. Since I've started my beer channel here, Scott's Rathskeller, I never reviewed it. I did review not long ago, depending on when you're watching this, one of their tropical IPAs. You look under beer dissection for that. Also, I had done a what is style with another blonde or golden ale under beer dissection. So if you like a little bit more of the history of blonde ale and golden ale and what to look for, look under the what is style for that. And I forget which version of blonde ale. It may have been one of Sam Adams blonde ales or Southern Tier. But I do a beer dissection, that video also, like I typically do on my what is style videos. So again, the longer version of golden ale, blonde ale, look under the what is style. I go into a lot more detail with that. So again, this one, the Big Wave Golden Ale, which I probably referenced in my tropical IPA video, which if I recall, I wasn't really a big fan of that particular beer. This one I've had in the past. I remember it being very sessionable. The ABV on this, if I can find it pretty quickly without tying us up here on the video, 4.4%, so very sessionable. And that's about it. So, you know, again, just to highlight a couple things about golden ales and blonde ales versus a lot of your other, say like your American lagers and international pale lagers, this should have still kind of a, you know, herbal, floral, citrusy kind of hop aroma. The malt should be definitely more prominent and sweeter than, say, your American lagers and some of your international pale lagers. The hop, though, aroma and flavor, even though there will be some kind of citrus floral, it should not be as overwhelming as a lot of your IPAs will be. All right, so it's usually made to be very easy drinking, sessionable type of beer. Great for the summertime that's coming up here pretty soon. And again, a lot of times people get turned off by these beers too because Kona Brewing Company, I'm sure, was craft years ago. I don't recall, I don't know if it was Budweiser. I'm guessing Budweiser, AB InBev bought them out because they are so easy to find in the store. And we know they have a huge footprint. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they are owned by AB InBev. But if I'm wrong, definitely chime in underneath if you happen to be watching this video. But again, Golden Blonde Ale, like I said, more malt and hop flavor and aroma and malt profile than your typical Budweisers, Millers, and things like that. Not as much hop flavor and aroma as your typical IPAs. And that's pretty much it. So, but again, if you want the longer version of me going into details about the style, look for that Golden Ale, Blonde Ale style. And if you want all the specs, you know, take a look at your BJCP, your Beer Judge Certification Program guidelines. This should not be too bitter and things like that. All right, so I'm just going to pour this in my typical tulip pint glass, and that's it. So again, you know, Golden Ale, Blonde Ale is not as popular these days as you know, IPAs or your stouts, your thick breakfast stouts and things like that. But an everyday beer, for me, this is typically a beer that I could drink, you know, several of them every day with a lot of different types of fare. So I always like having these on a standby. So let's take a look at this. All right. So we have a nice 1.5-inch white foam head, pretty tight bubbles. Hence it being Golden Blonde Ale, we can see how it's crystal clear. I can kind of see myself through the other side of here. You know, light to medium gold color, you know, not straw colored like your Budweiser would be. So it's definitely darker than that, even darker than, say, like many of your Munich Helles and Pilsners. This is an ale, it's not a lager. So, you know, we will be expecting to get a little bit more some fruity esters and things like that. But again, perfectly clear other than a few nucleation bubbles on my glass. And that's it. A very pretty looking beer. Let's take a sniff of the aroma. Yeah, so, you get that fruity, floral. The fruit is kind of like, to me, it's a little bit more like melon, like cantaloupe, grape, maybe slight grapefruit. Not much citrus compared to a lot of your IPAs. But I wouldn't argue if someone felt that, they were catching a little citrus in here. But, if you want to say like even apple, cut opened apple or cut open pear, things like that. The malt, very sweet, Pilsner malt like pale row. Pretty fresh, but you kind of definitely get that fruity nature to the hops and the sweetness from the malt. But it's definitely very pleasant. All right, guys, cheers. Definitely pretty moderate carbonation, moderate to high carbonation. Again, on the malt, which I'm getting first, you kind of get like that light toast, bread crusty kind of malt. Not too deep with the bread crust though, just nice bready, toasty, maybe biscuit top type of malt flavor. Similar to the hop aroma, I get a little bit of a slight citrus, but to me it's more like pear, apple, not even white grape. I'm just gonna stick with pear, apple, maybe even a slight melon, like a cantaloupe, things like that. Low bitterness. No alcoholic warmth, very easy drinking, pretty light bodied. And again, we are looking at 4.4%. So on the aftertaste again, you're kind of left with kind of a little bit more of a flat kind of fruit, like an apple, pear, and then like the malt fades away, but you're not left with much in the aftertaste. But very easy drinking. Again, kind of that sweet Pilsner, two-row malt, fruity, apple, pear, cantaloupe type of thing. Not citrus. This is not like a grapefruit or orange kind of citrus bomb. Definitely more malt. You're gonna get a little more malt than versus your Budweisers and, like I said, your Millers and things like that, your Heinekens, and a little bit more hop depth and to the flavor and the aroma. Again, bias more towards kind of fruit, maybe slightly herbal, but again, not overly, blown away with grapefruit or citrus and things like that. But very nice. I mean, it's just a very, there's not much, like some of your German lagers, it's, even though this is an ale, is pretty easy drinking. You don't have to be too careful. It's not like a 10% alcohol IPA. You could consume a few of these and not even barely feel it. But very, very refreshing. And what I really like about it, between the carbonation, the low bitterness, it's just a very easy, light, refreshing beer. One of those beers that when you don't want to think about it too much, thinking about the aroma and the flavor and the bitterness, you just want to kind of consume. This is very good. It kind of mimics, kind of like a Munich Helles. It doesn't have enough bitterness like a Pilsner would be, like a German Pilsner, but definitely lighty and fruity, almost like maybe not so much a Munich Helles, but like a Kolsch would be. But maybe not as, as in, the Kolsch doesn't, I'll get some pear and apple. This probably gives me a little bit more than that, but so it kind of is a little bit like a German Kolsch, if you want to say that. Maybe not with a little bit less bitterness, and same with the Munich Helles, but with more fruitiness, just to kind of compare some other beers that are out there, like Spaten and Hofbrauhaus and their Hofbrauhaus Original and things like that. Anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to give this beer, if I'm giving my grades, let me just take one more sniff and aroma. And one more swig of it. Yeah, you definitely get that floral, perfumey, fruity kind of zip on the taste buds right there on the front end. Listen, it's an average beer, you know, B minus. But listen, on a hot summer day, you want something sessionable, and you know you can pick these up very easily, even just at your simple grocery store. I wouldn't stick my nose up at it. I think this is a nice everyday beer. Are there other beers that I enjoy a lot more? Of course there are. So, you know, I definitely don't want you to get the idea that this is like, you know, you're going to be blown off the shelves. I mean, we've seen this beer in stores for years. And I think they have their market, but a very easy drinking, again, light toast, bread crusty malt, apple, pear, you know, fruity type of hop flavor, malt sweetness that you get from it. So again, I enjoy this beer, even though it's a very simple, very economical beer. I know some of you may roll your eyes at it because it is big beer these days. It's not really craft, but sometimes you're in a pinch, you want to try something out. I definitely would have this as one of my go-to beers, especially for a nice barbecue. Throw them in your coolers there on your porch. Take it to the beach type of beer, except maybe I get the canned version. All right, guys, so beer dissection today was Kona's Big Wave Golden Ale or Blonde Ale. Again, look under if you're interested in the history. In the what is style, I have Blonde Ale, Golden Ale, and I do a beer dissection there. I forget which version of this style. Okay, until next video, guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.